Hello and welcome to all of you to Digital Money 2020. Without any delay, I would like to welcome Dr. Shubhashis Gangopadhyay, Founder and Research Director, ITF, for a keynote address. Dear delegates, keep posting your questions in the chat box. Sir may answer a selected few at the end of this session. Welcome, sir, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to this keynote address. And I hope I'll be able to say something which will be of interest to you. But first, two clarifications. Even though this conference is entitled Digital Money, and that actually means digital currencies, I'm going to avoid talking about that. Okay. Instead, I'll talk about the digital payment system in India and how that economy or that ecosystem is developing or should be developing. The other thing I want to clarify is that I'm not going to talk about the industry or the business as it is, because most of you know more than I do about the state of the business, and therefore I'm not going to quote data that you already know or know more about. And so I'll go straight into how an economist looks at this and why is it interesting to economists to look at how the digital money system in India is working out. Now, 10 years ago, IDF had done a report for IAMAI where it posed the question as to why should India go cashless? And there we argued that India should not go cashless so that banks can better manage their business, or that RBI can better regulate, or businesses can make greater profits, but essentially for why cashless in India is necessary and is desirable, of course, for the people of the country. And over there, we focused on the fact that one of the big problems with the financial markets in India is that the poor were completely excluded from the formal system. And therefore, for what we came to call financial inclusion, which has now become a buzzword, often misused and misinterpreted, that for financial inclusion, we need a cashless economy. Again, and I'm not going to go into the details because once again, you know all of it, all of that. But so as an economist, we are focused on that which improves the welfare of the people. We talk about the technology, we talk about the economic system and its organization, or in general, the ecosystem, simply to ensure that the citizens of that ecosystem are better served. Okay, so that's the focus I'm going to take. Now, if I take that focus, then we see that to support a vibrant, dynamic, and sustainable payment system, there are at least four things that must be satisfying. One is, of course, immediate, which is the connectivity or the infrastructure, right? So not only should now digital literacy, frankly, is not a problem because most people nowadays have that, and even if they don't, they're very quick to learn. We have done various experiments with digital literacy. We have done two big projects on that with adult digital literacy, right? Because just as you have the general adult literacy issue in India, we also have adult digital literacy issue in India, because the younger people are very quick and adept at latching on to this digital system, but the adults may have a problem, and we have done various work on that, and that also is not a problem. So connectivity is important. Digital literacy is not. That we have found through various researches that we have done. So that's one important aspect. The second important aspect, which unfortunately India is yet to develop in a big way, is what we would call digital remote payments. So take, for example, migrant labor, right? And their remittances being done digitally. There are pockets, there are few instances where this is happening, but in general, this is yet to percolate throughout the migrant labor community. And as we have seen during this pandemic, that we have many migrant laborers working in places far away from home and remitting money back home. And many of them still follow the old system of sending cash, Now, there has been a slight improvement because of Jan Dhan and all of that. So we do have a cash in, cash out system. So the migrant laborer, where they are, puts in cash into the bank, which is then digitally connected to the bank at home, and people take out that cash from home. But for a digital system, we need more than that, right? Why should we have the banks intervening in between? Why can't the payments be made directly through digital systems? So this has to develop a lot more in India, and it has not yet developed. And the reason for developing this is very simply so that people develop a trust in the system. So when you make an immediate payment at a distance, and you can call up and find out whether you know you can call up and find out that the payment has gone through, then you start trusting the system, and okay, it works. And that is something that is essential for our system to develop. The next aspect is that of what we would call in economics intertemporal payments, right? Now, we had done some work on the so-called micro pension schemes, right, where people save small amounts of money, and dealing in cash makes that highly inefficient because the transaction cost does not depend on the amount of money transacted. And therefore, we need to make the transaction cost per unit of money transacted as small as possible. But if we do not have a system that enables this, the problem, casual laborers save 10 rupees, 15 rupees, even 100 rupees a day, are unable to put that money into any savings instrument because the cost of cash in, cash out is too high, right? So one of the important things that the digital payment system should be able to encourage is dealing in these assets, right? Not just on simple payments or remote payments, but also being able to save money across time, okay, or deal in assets, which essentially mean dealing in money across time. And the pension was an example of that we tried to work out. So this is another aspect, and we are far, far removed from there, right? In terms of financial inclusion, the payment system is yet to get there. The fourth aspect, and that is the one that is picked up the most in India, is of course retail payments, or what we call getting rid of the cash in, cash out system, and directly deal in digital payments from payer to payee. And this is, of course, become a big thing. After the pandemic, it has got a big, big boost, and not just in India, but throughout the world. So on that, we are doing okay. So if I look at these four steps, certainly with connectivity, we are improving, we are getting there. The on retail payments, we are, or e-tail payments, we are also getting there. But the other two, remote payments, right, digitally, for the financially excluded, and the intertemporal services that the digital payment system provides, we are a bit, uh, underdeveloped in that. Okay, having said that, okay, if we are thinking about the payment system, how would we want it to be? Right? That's the question that we ask ourselves. Now, ideally, you would want to separate the financial market instruments from the actual transactions in these instruments. Just as when we talk about economic activity, we talk about economic activity taking into account the transportation and the connectivity requirements for businesses. But we do not want businesses to be involved in developing what we call the instruments of commerce, or the roads and the various other connectivity requirements, putting in vehicles and all of that to be able to connect businesses, right? We want those to be done by separate entities or separate authorities, depending on what the regulatory structure is. So similarly, when we're talking about the financial markets in this setup, we would want we would want, how should I put it? We would want two different players to be dealing with this. Okay, so one group of players should be involved in developing or designing, right, various financial instruments and services, while others should be focusing on creating low transaction cost payment platforms. Now, this is where the problem lies, because this is, for almost all classical economic activities before digitization, these were well thought out and well regulated. We understood it. We had created ecosystems that would be able to do it, some more efficient than others. But, we had a fair hold over that. But in the digital world, there are a few issues that come up on which we have to be very, very careful. So what are these two issues that come up? So first, platforms conducting other profitable business activities on the platform could create dominant positions in the platform market. So what do I mean by that? So if I'm using a payment, remember, we can think of those who are designing financial services and products, right? And are focused on those, essentially similar to those who write various applications on a platform, right? So that's how we can think about the financial service providers or the product providers or the instrument providers. Whereas the platform on which they do it, right, on which these payments or transactions are completed is like the highways on through which trucks travel transporting goods and commodities. Now, if it is entirely possible that those who are managing these platforms also have other businesses, and the real issue with platforms is that, or in a digital world, is that these businesses need not be in the same activities as the platform is dealing with. Why? Because in the digital world, the ability to conduct or to ability to connect data from one business activity with completely unconnected, right, data from another business activity. When I put the two data sets together, I can develop services and develop, economic activities that generate more value. Something that was, not possible before has become possible now, that data and the fact that data can be combined. So, for example, my health data could be combined with my, grocery shopping data to generate information about me that could actually help me in having a better health status. Okay, so you can develop new markets and new economic activities by combining various data sets. And therefore, it is important that those who are running these platforms, if they have other activities, they can actually generate additional value, which was not possible in a more classical non-digital economy. Now, this enables the platform owners to become dominant players in not just this business, but in other businesses too. Most importantly, it is possible for these dominant players to generate value outside this platform. Now, this leads to their ability to compete out other platforms who are trying to operate in the same business. An example of this is, let's take the recent example of UPI and all of that. Now, when the UPI was set up, it was meant to encourage innovation across the Indian startups. But if we look at the data now, we find that 80% of all UPI transactions are carried out through Google and Walmart owned Phone Pay, right? And there has been really not much innovative activity by Indian businesses. So one needs rules for market players and regulatory institutions that understand the market dynamics and can enforce what is best for society. So this is a very important aspect that our regulators need to be aware of. Remember, the ultimate goal, as I said, was financial inclusion. There are various intermediate goals with which we get involved and forget about the final goal. And one of these intermediate goals is competition. And competition is driven by what we would call free entry and free exit into economic activities. But as I just argued, this free entry and free exit often leads to what we in classical economics call natural monopolies, right? And that does not help the citizen at all. And this is what we need. We need a strategy to ensure that we can reach the goals of financial inclusion to all its people without generating anti-competitive or systems that extract the surplus that is being generated for businesses alone or some businesses and not for society at large. So this is the most important thing I think we should be focusing on. And this requires strategizing by policymakers along with businesses and, of course, civil society. So I will stop there. I think my time has more or less run out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for addressing our audiences. Thank you to all the delegates, all our partners and members. Stay tuned for many more insightful sessions lined up for you. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you.